Hey, what is up everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at Polkadot, which is currently up 2.5%. Now we're going to be jumping into exactly where I think the entire market could be going over the next few days and week. But before we do so, make sure you guys go check out the Discord down below. You can see on the screen right now just how many trades our members have been winning from simply joining up and starting to copy and paste the trades that we're sending out to them every single day. So make sure you join up. We've had over an 85% win rate over the past few months. So every 10 trades you enter, 8.5 of them will win. You know, we can round up or down, 8 or 9 of them will win, which is insane. And the wins we're getting aren't small either, as you can see on the screen. So yeah, make sure you join up. Super simple to do so. First link in the description. Now back to Polkadot. So Polkadot is a coin that, you know, if you watch the videos, I strongly like. I always said under $5 it's a decent buy, and under $4 it's a really good buy. You know, I don't think much better value that you can get than Polkadot under $4. And I understand all the negativity behind Polkadot and you know, the entire community behind it, because yes, it's not been performing like it really should be and like how it was in 2021. But you also have to remember that these are two completely separate times. You know, 2021 was a run of its own. It was huge for a lot of altcoins, specifically to do, you know, any altcoin that had a really good utility, which Polkadot did, and that utility was very necessary during this time. However, the narrative has sort of switched this year, which has sort of become more Bitcoin and meme coin oriented. Obviously Bitcoin soared to 110,000 and we had meme coins on Solana, and Solana itself saw as well, and we've not really seen that prevail down to ETH or Polkadot or any other coin really in that same effect. Now that isn't to say, you know, that all these coins that haven't seen that same effect are necessarily bad, but it does present quite a unique opportunity in the form of value, because whilst we might not be able to target, you know, the previous highs of, or the all-time highs of the 21-22 bull run as we did with Solana, you know, it blew past those all-time highs, although be it, you know, with a Donald Trump coin, we can still target previous highs at $10, $11, $12, maybe even $23, $24 if the market prevails. And you have to remember, it's not like we're entering at $9 and selling at $10. We're entering at a very reasonable price here in the form of under $4. And if we're simply targeting the previous high, which by the way, every time it's previously gone under $4, 100% of the time it's come back up to $11 to $12, 100% of the time historically. So if we're just targeting the previous highs, that's already a 3.2, 3.3x. There's also staking with Polkadot on crypto.com in specific, 15% APR. So you stake it up, you get 15% annually, but that obviously compounds. You're earning Polkadot every single day. Yes, there is a 30-day unstaking period in which, you know, you have to click unstake and then wait 30 days for your coins to be fully unstaked and for you to be able to sell them, which is very normal. You'll just have to do it slightly earlier. Rather than unstaking at when we're at $11, $12, you can unstake at $8, $7 if the trajectory is right. And, you know, instead of getting a 3.3x return, and instead of getting a 3.3x return, you're going to be looking at like a 3.5, maybe even a 3.7x return from that compounding interest. And if it goes on for longer, maybe even a 4x. So it's very important. You know, there's a lot of ways you can profit max, I suppose, from Polkadot, which is why I like the coin so much. You know, it's a bit of a dead coin right now in the form of we're not going to hit $50 most likely this run, but $10, $11 if the entire market is going up and there's no specific news to Polkadot, it's easily going to hit that. There was no specific news for us in the past where we've hit $11 to $12, so I think that's going to be very easy to do as well. Now again, the entire market currently relies not necessarily on Bitcoin or Ethereum or the S&P. It mostly relies on Donald Trump, and Donald Trump in the form of tariffs. Now this week we're probably going to get a lot of news regarding China and the US tariffs. At least on Twitter I've seen that China is asking the US to cancel all tariffs. Over the weekend we also got major news of the US actually removing tariffs or getting a deal for smartphone tariffs and everything like that, which by the way, if you didn't know, Apple is or was the biggest company in the US and they obviously sell smartphones. So if that gets tariffed, you know, they're at a risk of losing billions, trillions of dollars in the form of their biggest company. So there's a lot of leeway to be had, and I think this week we're going to see a lot more news, especially as now, you know, China is asking for cancellation of the US tariffs. Maybe they can find a deal in there somewhere. Now as for Bitcoin, we already talked about this in a previous video, but I think Bitcoin can easily head to 89, 91,000, but it's probably going to see it, you know, a drop back down. The only way we don't see a drop back down is if there's a mega deal with the tariffs. If there's no deal with the tariffs, tariffs and the trade war only gets worse, then Bitcoin's going to drop. We're probably going to drop back down to 74, 69,000, which, by the way, in all my other videos I said we're going to drop down to 74 or 69,000. We dropped to 74. Now if the market continues to worsen, yeah, we're going to drop to 69. But this week we may get that tariff deal, and if that happens, I think we'll be back. Now the S&P, where could the S&P be going? Well, we broke through this really strong support that we previously had, and it looks like we're going to be testing that again now. But again, as I said, we have a smartphone deal now with the tariffs, and on Monday my guess is Apple is going to open significantly higher than it closed on Friday, and especially in the pre-market, maybe 5-10%. You know, 10% is huge for Apple. That's multiple billions of dollars. Again, that's a huge deal also for Apple, so I think that's going to carry the S&P up significantly. It also may cause a snowball effect where, you know, if Trump is able to get a deal for smartphones, maybe he's able to get a deal for other things, and people reinstill trust in Trump and his negotiations, and that carries other stocks higher, and then the S&P continues to soar. And the reason I'm talking about the S&P is because it directly correlates to Bitcoin 90% of the time. When the S&P is having a good day, usually Bitcoin is having a good day also. So if tomorrow the S&P is having a great day, we could expect Bitcoin to have a great day, which then translates into altcoins, and in specific Polkadot having an amazing day. Now the next targets for Polkadot really are up here at $540, which is going to be like what, a 30-40% move up. Let's check it out here. Yeah, 45-50% move up, so it's not bad from the current levels. Again, under $4, I think anything is a great entry. You know, we went quite low into the threes, which I'd just recommend dollar cost averaging in. Don't go lump sum, you know, under $4. Try and find lower time frame entries. You know, maybe you would have entered at 330 again at the lows, you know, here at the lows at 360, here at the lows at 380. There's multiple entries to find, and I think the best way to do it is just by trying to DCA lower and lower rather than going one lump sum in. Now other coins I'm going to be keeping an eye on this week include Dog. We've had this soared absolutely this past week, or the past few days really. This coin is incredible to short, and we'll be potentially looking for shorts from, you know, 60 cents and just overall in the vicinity here. Dogecoin, another great coin, but not to short, to actually buy. I think Dogecoin has a promising future. Going to be looking to see how it reacts this week. Fetch is actually up 10% today, which is so good to see. This coin is significantly undervalued, and you know, during the run it really needs to get back up to the high twos, $3, maybe even $5. API 3 saw a great run, then it obviously dumped down with the market. Now it saw a huge move up, and now it's down 4%. It will be interesting to see how this opens tomorrow. XRP climbing very nicely, broke above the 0.236 area here on the fib. Looks like it could climb to roughly 238, 240, somewhere around here on the next Fibonacci level. Sui, I love the team behind Sui, and currently it is just chilling here at like 230. Next target is like 285. Render, another one of my favorite coins, next target's at like 580. Right now it's just resisting at the previous high. Polkadot, we've talked about. Solana, again, you know, we can climb to like 160 on Sol, maybe even 205 if the market continues to go strong. ETH as well looks really good, really undervalued at these levels as well. Now if you did enjoy the video and you did find it helpful, please do make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to be getting my trades every single day, then check out the Discord down below. If you need a place to actually buy, sell or trade cryptocurrency for the lowest fees with the best sign-up bonuses, then check out Mexi down below, which is sponsor of today's video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye guys.